So as you know, I have a couple bad habits, right? One of them is procrastination. I'll talk about that, another time. One of them is, and it's not, it's absolutely not OCD level. I've known people who are OCD, and I'm, thank God, not one of them. But I will be happy to play Minecraft for 4 days in a row, or I recently just got my joystick plugged in. I've been playing a lot of X-Wing Alliance, but on my system at home, I've got two monitors. I've not hooked up a third yet because I can't justify a reason for running a third monitor, although I want it anyway. And I'll listen to music or I'll watch something on the second screen, or technically more actually listen to something that's playing on the second screen and glance over it between, missions or whatever. And there are some YouTube channels that I'm actually subscribed to under this ID. One of them is there's Wendigo, there's Lore Lodge, there's History Hut. One of them is a guy named Jamel, aka Jamal, who does a lot of movie review. Excuse me, music reactions. He's a reaction guy, and I was probably 20 years my junior, and from a completely different. I grew up a upper middle class white kid because that's what I was, or at the very least a middle class white kid, and he grew up as a kid in I believe it was Compton, but lots of his friends had joined the gangs and whatever. So, but my point being, obviously we didn't listen to the same kind of music. He talks about a lot about the R&B of his youth, and how he got into to some of the early rap, which means that he'll step back and listen to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, or Joe Jackson, or Blondie, or some of the bands that I'm more familiar with. And it's fun to, well, it's always fun to listen to music to me, but it's fun to see his comment on, you know, a band that I loved in my youth, like Yes is another good example, or even just a band that I remember. Oh yeah, that's right. That they had a song. I think a great example of that would be Ballroom Blitz by Sweet, or The Sweet. I'm not sure which it is, and it doesn't really matter. And just to see his reaction, and that got me to thinking about growing up with music, and how music has always been part of my life. I mean, I remember being little and listening to Roger Miller sing a song called "Dang Me" when I'm 4 or 5, and how funny that was, because now we are allowed to say the word "dang," which we weren't allowed to before, because "dang" was a bad word. D-A-N-G, yes, dang. What was a bad word? We couldn't say the word, but we could sing it when the song came on, so that was okay. Eventually, I stopped listening. I started listening to, as I entered my late single digits and early teens, I started listening to, pop or bubblegum music, right? A lot of the just whatever was playing on the AM stations until disco came out. Disco, don't get me going on disco. In theory, there were some good disco songs, but I couldn't tell you any of them. If you can think of a good disco song, please leave it in the comments. I can't think of a single one right off the top of my head. And then I started, as I was listening to the Beatles as a kid. I had a cousin who was a big old Beatles freak, and they were played often enough on the radio still. Um, you hear the cows? My dad was a Beatles fan. My dad also liked barbershop quartets, which I have a love for because of him. It's not something I go seek out, but I don't, I don't revolt when I hear a nice four part harmony. It kind of brings me back a little bit. I remember, uh, I know I was less than 9 years. Times were so different, so different. In the summertime, Mom would all give us a quarter or whatever the cost was and send us off to the high school that was a mile and a half away, and we'd go swim in the pool all day. And they played the radio. I remember the first time I heard Rod Stewart's Maggie May was at the pool, and how much I enjoyed that. As I got older, I started. I remember Bowie. Bowie was a big. I'm a big, especially the early Bowie stuff. Probably the pre-1980 stuff. Big Bowie guy. Of course, the only song I can think of right now, and it's not a Bowie song, is Cows with Guns. You probably can't hear the cows. I'm not sure how good the microphone is on my phone here, but they're outside mooing. Bands like Steely Dan always tickled my ear. I like that non-standard rock, kind of jazzy influence. Pink Floyd. I grew to appreciate Pink Floyd. They were not something I liked in the beginning. And I think they were not something I liked in the beginning because they were a acid rock, and I was already pulling away from that kind of music. As I've mentioned before, my brother would literally trap me in his room and put on Led Zeppelin 2 and scream an album side to me, calling it singing. And I pretended to enjoy it because I didn't know any better. I didn't know to say, wow, this is a really good band that I don't like. I didn't know how to say that when I was, 13. The Police came out. That was a big changer in my head because that was played on the rock stations and it wasn't rock and roll. And then punk came out. I think punk came out first. And I had a friend who was a big punk rocker. And as I've mentioned before, I got the joke. A lot of my friends didn't. I understood punk as sarcasm, and a lot of people took it seriously, which I never got. Still don't. Listening to Sid Vicious sing My Way is still one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Then New Wave came out. And then I was interested again there because the song started faster. There wasn't a 30 seconds of instrumental intro. They got right into the lyrics, and there was, at least in the stuff I was listening to and enjoying, a fair amount of storytelling going on in the songs. I mean, Only a Lad by one of my favorite bands, Oingo Boingo. Yes, I know. Is a great story about this kid who's just horrible, and everybody around him is going, "Oh, he's only a lad. You can't blame him. It's just the way society is," which strikes me today as exceptionally funny. And it's, God, 30, 40 years later. And now it's not a joke. Now it's just what people say. Oh, it's society's fault that he blah, 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 stole from his neighbor, whatever. But I'm sidetracking and I'm trying to keep these non-political. Found bands like Blondie, bands like Devo. Devo had actually more than one hit. So did Blondie. They were both quite interesting and are still some of my fallbacks. Elvis Costello, who I got to kind of see in concert. I caught about the last half of his show one time. Big fan. Loved the sarcasm. Loved the pace. And then he went off and did an album with a string quartet at one point, which was really interesting. Got to the point where I would, as they rebuilt the house one summer, I think I was between 15 and 16. Maybe I was between 14 and 15. But they put a second floor on the house that I lived in, and they moved me upstairs. So I had my own big old bedroom. It was beautiful. But I got a big old desk that I got to work on. It was actually a door, and my stepfather built a stand for the door, and that was my desk, and I had all this open space, so I would just start writing lyrics randomly on not my lyrics. I'm not a lyricist. I don't have that creative thing going on. I only ever wrote one song, and we're not going to talk about that. But I would write bits and pieces of lyrics on this desk, and in hindsight, I'm sorry I threw it away. There are, I think there's, well, three people who are still in my life that have ever seen it. Two, I'm not sure if they remember it, and one, I'm not sure if she cared enough to even notice it. I think that's kind of why I do some of the wood carvings I do today. I've got 2 summers worth of, like the plaques I'm working on here that you see, of just bits of lyrics that mean something to me, and they're hanging up in different places of the house. And when I'm done with this, everything, with the exception of, I think, Constantinople, everything I've been working on is all part of the same song, and I'm going to string them up lyrically in order and hang them from someplace, or have somebody hang them for me, because the only place I know that I can hang them is in the stairway between the first and second floor, and I'm not sure I want to stretch far enough or climb on a ladder, but I think that's probably the only place I can hang them and have them be correct, in order lyrically from top to bottom. But I think I decided when I moved in here that I probably shouldn't take a pen and write lyrics on the walls. That's probably not a good thing for, the actual homeowner to do. So I don't. But I was talking about Jamel, and he reviewed this, and I hesitate to call it a song, although technically that's what it is. It's actually a piece of art, I guess. Really, really cleverly done, and it's quickly become one of my favorite things. And then, because I can be obsessive, I spent the next 2 days watching reaction videos to the same song over and over. And honestly, part of me wonders if I watch reaction videos so I can see whether my thoughts and feelings about something, a song in this case, are the same as quote unquote normal people, because I never have really considered myself a normal person. And this one was really odd. Despite all that music that I loved growing up, whether it was Maggie May or a Steely Dan song, or even a Bowie song, and some of my favorite songs are David Bowie songs, whether it's Lady Grinning Soul or Aladdin Sane or Space Oddity or whatever. I mean, those are some of my favorite songs, absolutely. But the one I ran across the other night actually touched me emotionally. And I don't know if the other songs didn't, because, for most of the time, well, I guess most of the time growing up when I was listening to music, primarily only music, I was also hampering my ability to feel emotions via smoking a lot of pot. Pot really just fucks you up emotionally, stagnates you. And I find myself now listening to songs that I grew up on and not necessarily breaking into full tears, but getting that, oh my goodness, my eyes are welling up feeling. I'm getting choked off a little bit. Feeling. I'm glad nobody's around to see this. Feeling. I call it cutting onions, right? I'll listen to, for instance, Pink Floyd's The Wall. And I'll listen to, and keep in mind, originally when that was originally produced, it was a 2 album release, and then 2 sides on each album. So when I'm listening to side 4, for lack of a better term, and I finally get to that last minute and 30 seconds or whatever it is, that's played so very quietly, called Outside the Wall, and I'll find myself choking up on that. There's sadly some unrequited love songs that do that to me, where I'll just choke up a little bit, like cut onions. And I was watching this new obsession, because I mean, if I'm spending 2 days watching people review a song on YouTube, I mean, I had to have seen 100 reviews or more, and I start tearing up I start chopping onions in the same place, every time, not just the first time, but time 56 and time 72 and time 97, every time. Yeah, this one absolutely made uh made my list. I've got it stored on my phone. I've got it stored on my tablet now. I've got it stored on my computer. It was 9 minutes and 19 seconds. That feels like 5 minutes. The guitar is really unusual. Lots of chromatics. Lots of really not quite right disturbing chords that are meant to make you feel uneasy, and do. And that goes with the song as it should. Combination of rap and singing and spoken word, which, and it struck me that I should probably talk about my love of music for a little bit. So that's what this one is. I am grateful to, the first guy that banged a stick on a big rock and figured out that he could make a rhythmic noise, and the first guy that, I don't know, blew a conch shell or whatever, and decided he could make a sound, and then figured out a way to make 3 sounds out of it. And who knows, you know 10,000 years BC, somebody's playing a conch shell version of some Ramones song, because they've only got 3 chords. Who knows? But I'm, as I've been known to say, I'm not, we're not better than the people of the 1500s or the 1700s. It's just that we're standing on their shoulders so we can see a little bit better. That's all. So to uh to all the people that this artist was standing on the shoulders of, I thank them. I thank this guy. His name is Ren. Specifically, if you're interested, the song's name is Hi Ren. It is really kind of amazing. And I think I'm done rambling about music. It's been 20 minutes or so. That should be enough for anybody to have to listen to me talk about nothing. So thanks. Hope this one gets more than one view. Stay blessed. Oh. What's your favorite genre of music? Or what songs touch you? And as put them in the comments, man. Open my eyes to stuff I haven't seen, because I would have never seen this song if it wasn't for the reviewer that I watch. So I am interested. I mean, it may be crap music. I don't know. I won't know until I've heard it. So put down your 3 favorite songs, or whatever. Let me know what they are. You don't have to link them. I'm happy to do the work. Lord knows I've got the time. Um, Anyhow, that's all I got. Thanks for staying with me. Let's get this one up to 2 views in the first week. I think the last one I did only had 1 view in the first week. And stay blessed.